Okay, good now?
Ready? Roll cameras. One rolling. Two rolling.
Alrighty.
Slated.
Hungrynhumble first talk. Merril Hoge interview. Take one.
Right. Do it again. Don't slap it.
No, but not doing it. That's the problem.
We'll slap it with your hand.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
All right. Hungrynhumble first talk. Merril Hoge interview. Take one. Oh my God, that's horrible. Horrible.
There you go. From 5, 4, settle, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You are now tuned in to Hungry and Humble Sports Talk at Rockstar Studio in Chicago, Illinois. Make sure to go to www.nextlegacy.com and download the app. Get tuned in to all the heat that we bring Monday through Sunday, creating a platform for artists and businesses to really create their legacy. Thank you, Next Legacy. Appreciate my team. You know, I always got to shout out my team. Appreciate Jermaine on the sound, JC on photography. We got Cyrus, our newest intern. Thank you for being here. Ricky, we got him on behind the video. And Danielle, my producer / director. Thank you, team, for all being here today, making this great production look good. Shout out our sponsors. Shout out the mini books. Shout out Viking Revolution, Project 1021, StreamYard, Champion, Lego. Thank you for believing in Next Legacy and helping us create this legacy for others. I'm excited. I'm super excited today. I'm honored to be able to introduce an NFL veteran. He's played 8 seasons in the NFL, is an NFL analyst, has worked on ESPN, an author, and just overall in my book, simply a GOAT. Merril Hoge, how you feeling today, brother? I appreciate you being here with us today.
Well, I'm feeling better now, bro. I appreciate that introduction, man. Thanks for having me.
You're truly a great, and I might be a little shaken up right now, no lie, because man, you're overall GOAT. You've done so many amazing things, and I'm truly honored and humbled to be able to just have a conversation with you, and just talk mental health, talk your career, talk your brand, and let the listeners know and get in tune with everything that you represent, Merril. To start off, I want the listeners to kind of just get in tune. They should know who you are. If not, you could Google this, man, but just let them know a little bit about yourself and how it all started before we get into any questions.
Yeah, well, that's a little bit of a daunting task. You know, your introduction, I think, you know, my life's journey started with, you know, a dream, you know, and I think most people, and I hope a lot of people dream, you know, and still set goals and still have passions they want to strive for, because, you know, that's what makes you tick, you know, and that's just clearly what makes me tick. But that dream of playing in the National Football League, you know, took me on a journey, and I was able to accomplish that goal, one. But the journey and the things that I learned going, achieving that goal is really the things, the tool belts, the tools of life, quite honestly, that have helped me apply it to so many different things, you know, transitioning work, you know, going from NFL to ESPN, you know, ESPN to, you know, my speaking career, being an author, writing a couple books, you know, being a dad, being a parent. I mean, that's the most important thing that I've done or will ever do. So the journey's helped me. You know, I've learned so many things from so many people along the way. That's why I always tell people I'm a product of a lot of people. A lot of people have challenged me and inspired me, and I'm grateful for that. You know, without it, I wouldn't be who I am today. And now it's about, you know, the whole journey has been like this, but more of an emphasis now is, you know, to truly help others, you know, and inspire to see what they are capable of, you know, and everything I've been through. The one thing I have clearly come to find out, that I know what is truly possible for people when they use their mind and their spirit towards the things they're striving for. And during the journey, you know, hopefully you can help people. You can give them that little nugget that they've been needing. You know, I remember Walter Payton gave me one at a critical time. Chuck Noll gave me one where I didn't see coming. My own daughter challenged me and inspired me all at the same time when I was diagnosed with cancer, the most challenging, most challenged thing I've ever been through. So, you know, there's a lot of a lot to my journey, but I'm a product of a lot of people, and I think that's most important.
Yeah, man, you're doing amazing things, and definitely just creating that platform. You're definitely in the position to just, help people out and give that platform back, especially just going through everything that you've gone through. Before we get into the depth of, your career and the things that you faced, and the things that you've overcame, can you tell me the love of football? I know it's probably like a basic question, but the love of football from back in when you were playing ball at Idaho, when you're playing college ball before getting into the NFL, where did that passion come from, and what type of variables did you have to overcome at that early stages in your career?
Well, find a way. These words right here, they've helped me live a dream and fight to live. These words is what really inspired the journey and inspired me to take action. But to answer your question, the reason that I mentioned that is you got to set the stage. In 1972, you guys probably not many. I know you weren't probably alive in 1972. There's a lot of people who missed that era, but that era is not like today. So here, I'll give you one example. Okay, the phones that I'm talking on right now. Okay, that used to be bolted on a wall. There used to be a cable.
Yeah.
You couldn't FaceTime, you couldn't text on it either. So that's all you could do was talk. If you had a TV, you were lucky. And if you had a TV, you probably only had 3 channels. And so football wasn't everywhere. Sports wasn't everywhere. And I was a kid. As a kid, I played all sports. I loved all sports. But I did gravitate towards football because I liked the contact of it. I was probably a better baseball player.
Okay, what position you played in baseball?
Well, I pitched, I played shortstop, and I played left field. And
the key positions?
Shortstop was probably my best position.
Okay.
Of baseball. So, but football, but it was too slow for me. Yeah. So getting to my point is when I was about 8 years old, it's the first time I ever saw football on television. I remember it was the Green Bay Packers were playing somebody, and I was taken back by seeing it, but then I was excited by seeing it because I'm sure as kids, most of you have probably heard this. Most kids hear this in their lives. Like, people ask, what are you going to be? What do you want to do? What do you want to do with your life? And I remember as a kid being asked that. And I was like, I wasn't shocked by it, but I was like, man, I never even thought of that. And I thought, okay, I don't expect people at 8 years old to know what they're going to do. But I remember thinking, wow, I'm going to think about that because I'd never thought about that. I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but that's a really good idea. I'm going to think about that. And it was shortly after that I saw football on television. Okay. And when I saw that, I was like, I know what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. And that's where the passion started. That's where the dream started. And setting goals and seeing them visually, is what led to the words find a way, quite honestly. And that's where it all started, about 8 years old and seeing it on television and this is probably why
gravitating to it, huh? You knew it was for you. You knew there's something that you were going to do.
Well, you know what? It clicked for me. That's what when I talk to people, there's a lot of people, especially last year, in transition, and a lot of uncertainty. And, when you get like that, I think oftentimes what I've referred back to is, first of all, if you're going to do nothing, then don't be shocked by nothing happening.
Right.
So that to me is always incredible where there's no accountability. There's no responsibility. It's I talk about the toxic locker room, a quitting locker room versus a successful locker room. And we all have a choice to which locker room we're going to get up, get dressed in before we enter the day. And in a quitting locker room, and this is my experience, not just personally, but talking to people, watching people, successful people, in not just sports, but business and life in general.
Yeah.
Really resonated with me. Sports pulls it out in me. But if you're going to point fingers, cast blame, and make excuses, you're going nowhere.
Big facts.
People that sit in that environment, and that is their recipe every day, that is a toxic environment that I have never seen anybody garner success out of it. I've never seen it. And then when you look at a successful locker room, and this is true at almost every level of success, whether it's personal success, business success, dreams, goals. The first thing, the most consistent thing that people do that are successful is they self-evaluate. That is the first thing. They self-evaluate. They look at themselves, they adjust and create a different plan, and then they do what is most important that all of us have the ability to do is they take action. They do about their circumstances. And, you know, I'll tell you this, I revisited that. I've developed that over years and over time. And every morning I get to ask myself, what locker room am I going to enter in?
Right.
You know,
and I'm gonna go into the successful one every time.
Yeah.
And I love how you just talk about that self-evaluating, because I feel like we really do have to do that. I'm writing a book as we speak right now called The Sit Down. And it's just about having that conversation with all the personalities within yourself and understanding them and being able to understand them to be able to gravitate. So that self-evaluation, just understanding, you know, what do you want to do, how you're going to do it, and putting some action behind it, right? Not just talking and sitting around it, being around that toxic, that lower energy, want to be at that high frequency. So definitely get that. Talking a little bit about your career, Merril, you spent 6 years with the Steelers. I know it's probably hard. I know it's most memorable time with your Steelers career only.
Well, actually, I played 7 years with Pittsburgh, and then I signed a 3-year deal to go to Chicago. So when I went to Chicago, I'd been there in Pittsburgh for 7 years, and I got to be honest with you, probably the most. I mean, it's hard to select one, but if I go back to that 1972 environment where you watched Monday Night Football, was kind of was the big deal. That was, I don't remember seeing football on Sundays, you know, just because we went to church and I didn't really watch. So Monday was a big deal. And the people were always on Monday Night Football. And then obviously the Super Bowl. And they'd win Super Bowls. And I was a big Pittsburgh fan, when I was a kid. And so when I was drafted, I think probably the thing this all happened in about a day. I went to my locker. When I was drafted, they flew me in. We went to dinner that night with all the draft picks. When I walked into my locker, I sat down, and the equipment manager, Tony Parisi, came up over to me, and he said, "Hey, do you know whose locker room this is? This locker list is?" And the way he asked it, I was like, "It's mine," because he asked me whose locker name on it. I go, "Oh, you know whose it used to be?" I said, "No." He goes, "Franco Harris's."
Okay.
And he's like, "So there's big responsibility." He turned around and walked away, and in comes Donnie Shell, who lockers right next to me. I'm not sitting there, but 5 minutes. Well, I about to back up. As I walked into the stadium, the Three River Stadium at the time, they had their 4 Super Bowl trophies sitting there. Then I make a right, and I walked right by Chuck.
Merril, give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Cut. We're cutting real quick. What happened? Okay, it's okay. Just adjust. Make that the main camera. Put that to the main camera. We'll shoot from one camera because it's a StreamYard anyways. We don't need multiple angles. Good. All right. Can we get take 2 real quick, and then we're gonna take it from when he was walking in. Merril, we're gonna take it in from when you're 5 minutes, or we were saying 5 minutes before the Super Bowl. You're walking in and you've seen the Super Bowls.
Gotcha.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
That was a good take, though. That was a good take, guys. What was it, overheated or just the battery? Okay.
So we're rolling.
No, we're good. They're gonna see everything. They're gonna see the cuts, everything on my if they're tuning into my YouTube.
Hungrynhumble, Merril Hoge interview, take 2.
All right, from 3, 2, 1.
All right, Merril, go ahead and you can pick it up from the 5.
Yeah. Well, this all happened in about one day. we'd flown in. They flew us all in. We had dinner that night, Mount Washington. But the next morning, I walk into the Three River Stadium where the facilities were. And I walked by the 4 Super Bowl trophies that would sit there by the door you walked in. So that was some.
Them Super Bowl trophies had to be inspiring, huh?
That was like, holy cow. That's like, you've seen him hoisted. Anyway, so I make a right. And there's Chuck Knowles talking to his secretary. I go to my locker. I sit in my locker. And Tony Parisi, who was the equipment manager at the time, he came up to me and he asked, he goes, do you know whose locker this is? And the way he asked it, I was like, well, it's mine. And he's like, no, do you know whose it used to be? I said, no, I don't know. He's like, Franco Harris's. He goes, there's
gotta feel, huh? Those are the shoes you're telling me?
Turn to walk away. About 10 seconds later, here comes Donnie Shell. Donnie Shell comes walking in and he sits right next to me. He lockers next to me. It wasn't about a minute or two later, I was changing and Joe Green walks in. You know, Joe Green's our defensive line coach at the time, but I didn't know that actually. I didn't know that. And he come walking in. So then we go to our meetings. First time I step into the huddle, I see Mike Webster and John Stallworth. You know, so, you know, within a matter of a 24-hour period, there have been
just names, boom, boom, heavy hitters, just bow, 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 everywhere around you.
Greatest, you know, and you're in the huddle with them and you're playing with them. You know, it was
that energy, that locker room. Imagine that locker room, huh?
Unbelievable. Well, it was during the mini camp. So after it was a 3-day mini camp, and I remember Mel Blount came down one of the days, you know, and Mel Blount's still an imposing man. He's like 6'4", comes walking in, cowboy hat on. He's a bad dude. I'm like, it was, and you talk about, he came over and introduced himself, welcomed us to the team, and it was just inspiring. It was something. You know, that first impression was maybe the greatest first impression I think I've ever had.
Amazing stuff. Switching it up and taking it the other way now. Mentally, because you know we like to bring awareness to mental health. This is the main focus. What I want to do. Mentally, what type of roadblocks did you face early on in your career? Talking about the same Pittsburgh era that you were playing in. What type of roadblocks were you faced with? What type of challenges? I know you faced injury. I'm not too sure. Did you face injury while you were at Pittsburgh before you went to Chicago?
No, I didn't have, you know, ironically, my high school career was devastated with injuries. I only played my senior year. My college career starts out just about like my high school career. I started as a freshman. I played 4 games, separated my shoulder. Missed the rest of the season. So at this point, after youth football, a little bit of junior high school, and my freshman year, I've probably played 16 football games in 5 years. So my sophomore year comes, and I have a great spring ball. I get hurt in the spring game. I get 2 helmets that collide on my calf. And I almost had to do surgery to remove the pressure off of it. But I had earned the right to be the starter going into training camp.
Okay.
From my sophomore year to my 8th year in the National Football League, I never missed a game. I never missed a practice.
And you hold the longest consecutive playing streak, I believe, right?
Well, at one time I did. When I was in Chicago, Dan Marino had blown his Achilles out, and I had the longest consecutive playing streak in the NFL. I mean, Brett Favre has since destroyed that.
Yeah, obviously, he did it.
Yeah, but you know, at that time, as a running back, you know, you get into 120, 130 games in the National Football League. That's a lot if you haven't missed a game.
It is. Every game, that wear and tear that you put in your body on the line.
Yeah, I played
a lot of wear and tear.
Yeah, I played every down too, so it wasn't like my first 5 years. I don't think I ever left the field. I played all every down, first, second, and third down.
Now, probably like a harder question to answer, but how did you feel mentally? Because I know you were the starter for the Steelers for 6 years, right? You said you were there for 7. So that 1 year that you weren't the starter, did that have to do with anything, or how did you face that mentally? Because I mean, you're always so used to winning, being at the top of the game, being a starter. How did you face that adversity?
Well, listen, the one thing you got to have perspective, and and so, if you create unrealistic perspectives, that can be damaging to yourself. Well, I do this right now. Being drafted in the 10th round, I wasn't starting. More than likely I wasn't going to start. I get there, and and they put me like I was 3rd on the depth chart. So what I did from that is I have to take steps. Okay, well, before I can be a starter, what do I got to do? I got to make the team.
Right.
How do I make the team? And so I created a plan, and I figured out I could figure out what I was going to do, what I needed to do to make the team, not just in the running back position, but on special teams, because that is one of our first meetings we ever had with Chuck Noll. He come in front of us and he said, "How can you have 580 yards in offense and your opponent only has 197?" And those weren't the exact numbers, but it was night
and day.
It was extreme. And I'm like, and lose. I'm like, is this a trick question? I'm in my head. I'm like, he's messing with us, right? You don't lose games like that. Yep. By 14 points. And I'm like, oh, you can't lose a game like what? In my head, I'm sitting there going, this is.
Yeah.
He said, special teams and turnovers. We gave up 2 punt returns, a kickoff return, turned the ball over 3 times. So anyway, he does this for a reason. We were the worst team in special teams last year. We're not going to be that this year. You want to make this team? You help us get better there. Okay, so now I got a way to get in. There's one way. And so I just created a plan on how to make the team. That was the ultimate goal. And then as I got part of the team, I could see where I was better than somebody at one thing. I was better than somebody at another thing. And nobody was good at all 3 things, like running, blocking, and catching the ball.
Yeah.
They kept, rotating players for that. So I was like, geez. I came out of college, I did all of it. Mm-hmm. So that's what I need to do. I need to emerge that I'm a guy, A, they can trust, B, I don't make mistakes, and C, I can do everything.
Very versatile.
And that eventually ended up getting me on the team and eventually helped me become a starter.
Good stuff, man. And you killed it too. I mean, obviously that self-evaluation, zoning in on yourself. Hey, there's this opportunity that presents itself, but this is what I got to do for me to get in that position. And then once you're in that position, you can kind of insert yourself on how to create that bigger energy and making the team a lot better. So definitely see the angle that you did there. And I think more people had to kind of adopt that mentality.
Well, you're talking about mental health, and I'm going to say this. When my career ends in Chicago, I had the most severe depression. I was a train wreck, man. I couldn't read. I had zero interest in life, and it was actually laying on a couch. I just gotten back from counseling. I was laying on the couch, and my career had just been my career had just been ended. Yep. They told me I couldn't play couldn't play football again. And
real quick, was that because of the concussion? Because of concussions?
Well, it was really proper. It was because of improper care.
Okay.
If people say the concussion, I'm like, well, that's not the truth, because if that happened, I would never played after Monday Night Football. I played the next week.
Yeah.
I cared over the phone 5 days later. It was improper care of that head trauma. Okay. Now, does that injury become the one that basically ends it? Yes, but my career was ended because of improper care. If I'd been properly cared for, that injury doesn't end my career, but that injury ends it. You're 30 years old. I've been doing it for 22 years. I was still in my prime.
It's all too. I mean, this is.
But I had done some things to work on my life's work, like Chuck Noll had challenged us to do. Thank goodness for that, because you have to have some self-awareness, you know, and listen, you weren't going to play in the NFL till you're 60, 65, and that's not going to happen. So reality is you're going to do something else. And Chuck Noll used to always say, I don't care how long you play. Even Tom Brady will not play the game longer than he did if he lives what is considered a normal, you know, lifespan at this
65, 70.
In this era. That being said, I was laying on the couch and I'm in that quitting locker room. Okay, I've got every excuse going on. I'm trying to pretend like this didn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, and how could this happen? You know, and I'm blaming everybody, pointing fingers. I'm just a wreck. And it was almost like a small window. A thought came into my head. I'm like, you know what? You have responsibility in this. You know, these words right here, find a way, they've helped me live a dream, but they've also helped me fight to live. And that was a moment where these words resonated with me. You know, very similar to what helped me live a dream. I'm like, you need to do something about your circumstance, Merril. You need to get up off the couch and you need to start what I call it. I was going to cast lines. I was going to cast lines into coaching, cast lines into broadcasting, all the relationships I had worked on and built on. I was going to start doing something to see. And wherever my line grabbed, whatever fish grabbed first, that's where I was going.
That hunger, that knowing, you know what I mean? You gotta seize those opportunities.
You know, you can't lay on the couch and do nothing and say it's them. You know, they did it to me. Okay, well, guess you're pointing fingers now, okay? Shame on them. Get up. Do something about it, okay? Put that away. That's doing nothing for you. And go forward. And I really had that. I just looked at myself. I was like, I'm pathetic. I'm like, I was out of shape. I hadn't done anything. Now listen, I was still trying to learn how to read again. I was a mess mentally.
I hear you.
But with all of that, I still knew I had a responsibility to it. I knew I had to do something. I had to do my part. I had people calling me. I had people trying to help me, and I wasn't doing anything. And that's when I realized, okay, wait a minute. Quit pointing fingers, casting blame, make excuses. Yep, sucks.
It makes more sense. Makes way more sense about the locker rooms. And now that I felt like in the beginning of our conversation, I felt like when you talk about the locker rooms, I always felt like you're just part of the successful locker room. You get me? Now that we're talking into it, now that we're getting into it, like you've experienced both locker rooms. So now
I've been in that locker room. That's how I know that locker room. And I know the difference in the locker room. And I also know that nothing comes out of that locker room that garners success.
When you say find a way, is that what inspired you to write your book? And I apologize for this, but which one came first? Was it Brainwashed or Find a Way?
Actually, Find a Way came first. You know,
is that what inspired everything, being in that locker room? And
Find a Way has been a footer in my life. And here's what Find a Way has done for me. It's inspired me to take action. It's inspired me to do something about it. And so that there's not, when you think about the human body, the human person, everybody listen to you. Two greatest tools known to mankind, everybody has them. Your mind and your spirit. Regardless of the circumstance, the goal, challenge, deadline that is facing you, your mind is actively involved. It is engaged. Now, that's why I asked, do you control your mind or does your mind control you?
I control my mind.
Right. Well, a lot of people don't.
No, you're right. You're right.
Control them. You know, when I was a kid, I went through that very first exercise when I put the goal up, I would play in the National Football League. When I sat there and looked at it, I started thinking about all the things people said to me. They said how hard it is, the odds. Oh, don't put all your eggs in a basket. And it's impossible. Well, my mind controlled me. Everything that they had said, I was just feeding to myself. Well, that's when the words Find a Way popped into my head. They changed my energy. They changed my thought process. I got excited about it. Now I was in charge.
Yep.
I was being proactive. Now I was thinking of ways to achieve the goal. What I got to do to accomplish the goal. What do I have to do? So that action destroyed all of that negativity and all of that energy that was nothing but toxic. And so that's when I really learned, and I've had thousands of experiences like that to really understand how you control your mind. You know, I'm having visuals up of what you're striving for, because I don't care what it is. more than likely, if you got a goal up, it's not going to be easy. You're going to have bad days. Things aren't going to go your way. Well, that's when you have to plow through them. That's when you have to be your best. That's when you have to apply, I control my mind. And as you plow through those tough days, well, the road does become smoother. Those rough days are not as rough as they used to be. You plow through them.
You do. And it's easy to be good on the easy days, right? I tell everyone, you got to be the best version of yourself on the dark days. That's what's going to define you. When you're the best version of yourself during the dark times. So, testimony to you. I agree on that. Can you tell me the transition that you had? I know you said that you went through depression, you know, your source of depression, everything after you played football. But what did you face mentally going from an athlete, being on the field, always playing in the gym, that wear and tear on your body, to being an NFL analyst? And was it a hard transition for you to be talking about the game rather than playing the game?
Well, yeah, it was actually painful. I mean, it was painful because I'm sitting there talking about things I know I should be still doing. So to really make that transition and let it go, took me a long time. It was about 5 years. And when I speak, sometimes I get to this point because this is what gave me peace. I was getting ready to go cover the Super Bowl in Atlanta. I didn't want to go. I mean, as much as I loved working at ESPN, I mean, I was in the environment that here's what haunted me. I never won a Super Bowl. That's the only thing I played for. Now I'm covering them, and I know I can still be playing. There can't be anything more so contradictory and painful.
No, I hear you.
And it literally, this is where I get the winning locker room. I remember I just got done brushing my teeth. I'm looking in the mirror. Now, I had a great way of beating myself up, I wasn't as good as Walter Payton. I was supposedly beating myself up that I didn't accomplish the one thing I set out to do, that I constantly was doing it. I looked at the mirror and I'm like, let's be honest. Could you have done more? Could you have done more? And I took inventory of everything that I could have done more, better, improved. Nothing. Now, I got to have a perspective. Okay, listen, things evolve and get better. Nutrition now is a lot better than it was 20 years ago. So you can't do this now and go, I could have been better with nutrition. But no. Within the circumstances of what I had control of, how I was prepared, how I trained, how I played, all of those things, did I do my part?
And you did.
I looked in the mirror. I'd done my part. I had done everything possible from my perspective, from the things that I controlled in my career. I now had peace.
I hear you.
I had peace. And I went down to Atlanta, had the greatest Super Bowl ever, because I'm on to the next. But it took me 5 years to get onto that next journey.
I hear
But now I do it, but I'm better at it now when things happen like that, when a transition happens. So when ESPN let me go, because of their bean counting.
That was in what, 2007, right? Like they just started letting a lot of people go or something?
For whatever reason, listen, it wasn't how I worked. If it was how I worked, then that standard they have is not a standard. I hear you. It wasn't because of that. Every day I brought my A game every day. I never was not prepared. I had done my job. I had peace with that. I just made it. That transition was much quicker than the NFL one. That one took me a couple weeks, and I was on. I was the next thing I was going to do. I've done my part. I don't have one regret at all. I was always prepared, and I did everything they asked me to do, and then some. I can't do any more than that. I had peace. I moved on quickly. So it's taken a lot of things. Those aren't the only two in my life, but the more I've had, I've learned. I get in that locker room right away. I self-evaluate. And that sometimes is a confirmation that, hey, did your part. Have peace with that. Yep. Wherever the results are, have peace with that. Yeah, you may not have been where you ultimately wanted, but please have peace with that.
Yeah, and if you put in the work, you got to have peace with it. If not, it's gonna eat at you, right? It's just gonna stay eating at you. You're never gonna be
take things up. you can't make things up that are unrealistic, you know, like I'll use the Walter Payton, when my career ended, you know, I was beating myself up that I didn't, you know, I didn't have the type of numbers Walter Payton had. I wasn't up in there. And I'm like, wait a minute, man, you're not as good as Walter Payton. Okay, at the end of the day, he didn't touch the ball. Walter Payton was a freak. All right, let's, you know, did you get the most out of your God-given ability, Merril? I sure did. I got every ounce of it out. And I'm like, what more can you ask? You at least did that. You did everything possible to maximize your career, play your career, and make it the best you can. That's the results. Have peace.
Yep.
You do your part.
Put in the work. You put in the work, and you live with the results that you get from the work that you put forward. Real quick, did you attend the Walter Payton golf event in Las Vegas?
No, they switched it on me, and I had committed to another event that they moved it to an event that I had already committed to months before that. So which bummed me out.
It's man, that I feel like, because this whole conversation you've been, you know, you kind of use Walter Payton a lot. For you to put that bar and say, hey, that's who I want to be better than. That's who I want my numbers to be better than, reflect. That was you're really chasing somebody up there. I mean, you're talking about I'd say top 2 greatest running backs of all time.
Yeah, well,
who would you say who's your top 3 running backs? Merril, who's your top 3 running backs?
Walter Payton's the greatest ever played, period. You know, when I was in Chicago, I got to know Walter Payton better. And there's a lot of layers to Walter Payton. He was not just a great football player, he's a great man. And indirectly, Walter Payton had inspired me as a kid. The dirt hills that he had run. It was actually an interview that I saw that really changed my life when I was, can't remember my exact age, but it's probably one of the key ingredients and most instrumental things that I have ever heard, that I've applied to my life, that everybody can apply, quite honestly. But he was asked, it was a tape he was putting out called Winning in Life. He's going to talk about a bunch of things, his charity work, his family, and how he trains. Well, I think it was around age 15. I was like, man, I want to know how he trains. I heard about the dirt hill. Is there anything else he's doing that I could do? Go back to, you know, the late 70s. It's not, you can't Google anything, you know, you got to get tapes like this. You'll go to the library and read, follow up on people. You don't have the access we have today. But I get the tape and I plug it in, and I didn't realize there's going to be an interview process. But in the interview process, they ask you, what makes you better than everybody else? And I was like, holy cow, that's what I want to know.
Mm-hmm.
If I'd have written the script, that'd been the thing I asked. And he said something as profound as I've ever heard a human being say it. He said, I want it more than they do. Every day of the week. He said, you see, in the off season, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, when I go run that dirt hill at 6 o'clock in the morning, I want it more than they do. He said, during the season, when there's not 65,000 fans in the stands, cameras are not rolling, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I want it more than they do. And then at Sunday at 1 o'clock, oh, you better believe I want it more than they do. Well, here's what that did for me as a kid. I was like, oh my gosh, I can do that. Like, there's not a soul sitting, watching, listening to this interview, your shows, that can't do that. That is a pure mindset and habit and pattern. That is where every day, see, like when you said you want, I don't care what it is, poof, everybody raises their hand.
Yeah.
Now, here's what comes with it. Hands start doing this. Everybody wants it. But every day, your commitment to every day, and see, that can be applied to anything. That relentless attitude, that relentless commitment, that helps you plow through the tough days. It helps you work through those arduous moments, okay? They don't say, hey, do you want it when it's convenient for you, when it's going to work for you? I don't know of anything like that that has value. You're going to have to plow through some tough days. And I'm telling you that mindset that he helped me develop indirectly at age 15 just continued to build over the years. You know, how bad did I want? I wanted it every day. From that day on, every day I trained, practiced, and played. I hear it in the back of my head every day. Every day. And today, no matter what I do, every day, It's not
positive, that positive mental, keeping your mental strong.
That's why I tell, what I said back then, we all have our mind and our spirit. Those are ours. Okay. How can we strengthen them? How can we exercise that? How can we train them to work for us, not against us? How do we control it versus it control us?
Hey, Merril, for an athlete that's coming up right now, high school, college, and they're facing, their depression, their anxiety, what's some words of encouragement that you would give them? I mean, you've been blessing us with a lot of gems already, finding a way, being consistent, self-evaluation. But just if they're really they're in a hard spot, what's some words of encouragement you would offer up to them?
Well, that's I know the first thing, because, everybody's circumstances are different. I've already mentioned it. You got to decide what kind of mindset you want to have as you go forward. I mean, are you sitting there making excuses, casting blame, and pointing fingers? That's the first thing you got to ask yourself. What environment are you creating for yourself? How are you looking at things? Are you doing the things that are helping you get better? Are you putting forth the effort? Are you prepared? Are you ready? Are you doing all the things that you need to do to help whatever craft or profession it is you're doing? It's okay to ask to somebody that maybe is a little wiser or had more experience. Ask people to help you, give you some insight that could help you, especially, with young people. And I guess the last thing is to realize this: you are 100% in charge. There's accountability in everything that we do. If you do not have that, you're going to struggle. But if you understand you're in charge, you take that empowerment and then you apply it. You get prepared. Whatever you got to do, find out what I got to do to be ready. What I got to do to get better.
Y'all hear Merril Hoge dropping gems, man. He's dropping gems. Stay prepared. Really have a self-evaluation. Know which locker room you truly want to be in. And hopefully it's not in that toxic one, because nothing good is going to come from that. Hey, Merril, can you just let our listeners know where they could get in tune with you, your brand, your movement, your books, anything that you want to do? Shout anybody out right now is your time, Merril.
I'd like to tell you this. You can just go to my website where I have really everything, all my speaking that I do, and my books and everything that really I've built on is merrilhoge.com. It's MERRILHOGE.com. Merril only has one L. Oh, Merrill Lynch has two. Hoge should have a D, but it doesn't. It's a HOGE. So
I hear you.
There's the easiest and quickest way really to get all the things that I'm doing.
And we'll have all the links on Merril Hoge, man. Just an amazing interview today. I'm humbled, and again, I'm blessed, and I'm just so thankful, Merril, to just have a sit down with you. I hope this conversation, this relationship, this friendship goes on, because we have a lot of things here in Chicago that just would be amazing if you were to take part of it and help it grow. And if we could bring any value to you from the studio, please let us know. And again, just thank you for your time. That's the most important thing that we have in this lifetime is time. So I value it very high. So thank you very much for your time and just dropping gems, blessing us with a lot of about your career and just things that you faced and the adversity that you faced and how you overcame it, and always having that mental toughness. I appreciate you. I look to get in your books, Merril. And everybody out there, remember, stay hungry, stay humble. We're out. And cut. I still need you, Merril, real quick, because I just need you to do drops, but I'm going to cut the live stream. Cut this live stream real quick. The video, no, you're good. We're fine, but he's going to do the drop for the audio.